Welcome back to Legacy Masters, hosted by Next Level Games in Dandenong. I'm Sully, and I'm joined by a good friend of the show, the Salt Mine one and only, Sean Brown.
It's me again.
We have a really interesting match coming up here for our quarterfinals. We have Paddy Robertson from MTG Gas. Gas MTG. Sorry, guys. That's my fault. On Sneak and Show on the left. And on our right, we have our one and only Graham King, TCM Represent, on Foodchain.
Yeah, so this is a pretty interesting matchup. Game one is pretty unfavored for the Foodchain deck, which is a little too slow, a little too fair against the pure combo show and tell deck. And though Graham has been, slaying a few throughout the day, I think he lost to one in the Swiss and then beat the other two. So
this is his fourth time.
Yeah, I think he definitely knows what's required in the matchup, and certainly he has a lot of tools post sideboard. Paddy taking a mull. And yeah, as we mentioned in the last round, Paddy, the previous winner of Legacy Masters, beating Shardless in the finals in kind of a similar way, beating up on the very, very fair bug deck
in 2016.
Yeah, with his show and tell deck. And I mean, he doesn't play much Legacy, Paddy, but
he has a good habit of coming to a Legacy tournament without playtesting too much
and crushing everyone.
Yeah, so it's extremely impressive. Good on him.
I mean, he grinds the PTs and things like that. He's has quite a resume, and I'm sure lots of his very generic good magic skills transfer into Legacy quite nicely, and especially when you have the blunt force of Sneak and Show. It doesn't matter if you aren't familiar. I'm playing against Foodchain.
Yeah.
Just sneak and show them, right?
Paddy did also say during the day that he's never actually had this matchup before, the Sneak and Show versus Foodchain. So it's going to be interesting to see how he boards.
I think, in particular, Paddy understands, though, that in Legacy, you can kind of subsection a lot of the decks. So, for example, Foodchain, even though it does have a combo inbuilt, it is kind of in the realm of this fair, grindy bug deck. Yeah. And I'm sure he knows that he has a solid plan against those. And I wouldn't be surprised if he brings in, something like Blood Moon or something like that, which has traditionally been good against Shardless Bug, despite, of course, Foodchain actually running a lot of basics.
Yeah.
So, as you said, a few things going on with his understanding of the format, but I'm sure he'll know what to do.
Graham fetching to grab, what do we reckon? A Trop? Yep.
Yeah, so he can just go ham on the non-basics here. There's no Blood Moon or Wastelands or anything to fear here. And we're going to see a Baleful Strix, I think, is what is being cast. Oh, Sylvan Library.
Sylvan Library.
Okay, Sylvan Library.
He's playing a one-of, I believe.
Sylvan Library is actually really good against combo if they're not killing you, because basically it becomes Ancestral Recall, right? In this kind of matchup, there is no problem with drawing a pile of cards. Because, I mean, if you get hit by Emrakul, you're dead anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, there's not much of a downside to it, but the only downside is, of course, that you have to tap out. And here we see it getting Spell Pierce from Paddy, which is pretty nice. I think he has a Jace in his hand.
Yeah, it did look like a Jace in my sculptor.
So Jace is actually going to do a huge amount of work in these kind of matchups where, your resources can be constrained. Paddy has actually mulliganed a fair bit as well. I think he mulled to 6. And, his cantrips haven't hit too much. Like, this Lotus Petal isn't, particularly
it's not
doing a huge amount of work. But Jace is really going to be helpful at fixing up this hand. And we'll see if Graham has a response here. But if Jace sticks, there's going to be, a lot of ability for Paddy to sculpt his mind, you might say.
yeah, exactly. Sculpting of the mind is pretty good.
Sculpting of the mind is pretty good, especially on turn 3. I mean, Paddy is, I think throughout the day, Jace the Mind Sculptor, I remember hearing from him, was quite an all-star.
Yeah.
Especially with Sneak and Show able to accelerate it out really quickly thanks to Ancient Tomb and Lotus Petals.
Which is really cool. Paddy is also a big 7-point Highlander player, and I do know for a fact... Oh, he doesn't? No? I do know that they, in 7-point Highlander, ask, does it pass the Jace test?
Right.
Is it as good as Jace the Mind Sculptor in this turn?
I mean, I think in Legacy, there's always a benchmark for these 4-mana things.
Yeah.
Like, why play Fact or Fiction when you can play Jace the Mind Sculptor? So, yeah.
Why play Miss Hologriffin?
Well, why play Miss Hologriffin? Because you can get a bunch of them and recur them, right? So here we see the power of Foodchain in its, ability to grind with Manipulate Fate, getting Mist Hologriffin, Eternal Scourge, and another Mist Hologriffin, and drawing a card. So that's a 4-for-1.
Yeah,
it's what we have there, right?
It feels amazing.
So it's that's the power that Foodchain has against Delver decks and things like that. Many decks in Legacy can't beat this random recurring 3/3 idiot in the air and just get beat down by it. Unfortunately, in this matchup, it's kind of not where you want to be, right?
Yeah,
It's a little too slow. You want to look for your Thought Seizers if you have them, and Force of Wills.
So Graham really wouldn't mind probably getting a Foodchain here, because he would want to dig and find his Wincon, the Walking Ballista.
Yeah, he wants to... I mean, there is a few plans that you have in this matchup. Game 1, you're looking for your combo, and your combo is a little bit slow and clunky compared to the leanness of the Show and Tell combo. Here we see a Foodchain found.
We are seeing the Foodchain.
Yep. So soon he is going to be able to assemble Infinite Mana. I think he can assemble it this turn, actually.
No, he's 1 mana off this turn.
1 mana off. So, because we can't see Foodchain, Sacrifice, Baleful Strix into Eternal Scourge. Does that work?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so, and then you can go infinite. So he might be missing, I think, finding his win condition, I guess. And I mean, Foodchain is great because it's very, fair. It can beat down. As I said, Recurring Griffins are great, but in the end, it is a 3-card combo, right? Yeah. It is a 3-card combo looking for your Mist Hollow, your Eternal Scourge, your Foodchain, and then your payoff card. So, as I said, quite different to the leanness of A+B of Sneak and Show.
So Foodchain is in hand as well.
Yep, so Foodchain's in hand. And here we see, So Paddy has picked up a Sneak Attack to go along with his Emrakul. So I think we might be in a bit of trouble here.
Which does not look good for Graham.
Yeah.
Having to annihilate 6 permanents
would
probably lock Graham out of the game.
Yeah, there goes the prospect of comboing, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully, Paddy has his extra red source as well, so I don't think there's much holding him back from casting Sneak Attack and firing that off.
So Graham is playing Force of Wills, but I don't think he's got any in hand.
Yeah, he hasn't. I mean, there is only 4. I think in terms of disruption, he only has 4 Force of Wills and 2 Thoughtseize in his main deck. So he's very disruption light when it comes to fighting against combo decks. As I said, the deck very much slanted to beat fair decks.
But Force of Will does feel like a powerhouse in Graham's deck when you can pitch a Miss Hologriffin to it.
that is one of the big boons. The basically free Force of Will, right? So yeah, that's really lovely. Like, it's a lovely bit of synergy.
It's beautiful. He does have a Leovold in hand, I see.
Leovold is also an interesting piece of the puzzle when it comes to disruption, because it cuts off any cantripping. But the thing is, it's a little too slow against Sneak and Show. They can often kind of, cantrip through, and then, here we see a Sneak Attack, Gristlebrand, draw 7. Looks like Emrakul is here as well. And they go to the next game because Graham will get hit in the face for 22 damage. Baleful Strix doesn't do much either since it's tapped, and Emrakul might eat it anyway. So anyway, there goes that game. So I think, Graham was actually very close to kind of comboing out there.
Yeah, really close.
Actually, he'd assembled most of the pieces. As I said, it looked like he needed that final piece of the puzzle in Walking Ballista. And definitely kind of, Jace kind of stealing away the game there, giving Paddy a lot of resources and then finding that Gristlebrand, Sneak Attack, etc. right?
So yeah, you are correct. I think he is looking at his side. Oh, this is Paddy looking at his sideboard and boarding in for those typical mid-range.
Yeah, so as I said, Blood Moon is actually not as effective as you would think against Foodchain. Foodchain actually has a very, very good mana base. We look at Graham's list and he has 2 islands, 1 forest, and 1 swamp. It actually fits in a lot of basics.
Yeah.
Compared to something like Shardless Bug, which can fit in like a swamp and a forest or something like that, right? So yeah, there's actually Blood Moon is actually a bit hairy, especially when Deathrite Shaman is involved. I think Graham though, he's looking to board in a lot to start with. He has, looking at his sideboard, he has 3 Surgical Extractions, 2 Engineered Plague, 2 Diabolic Edict, 2 Mindbreak Trap, 1 Vendilion Click, 1 Flusterstorm, 1 Pithing Needle, 1 Toxic Deluge, 1 Blue Elemental Blast, and 1 Hydroblast. Almost all his sideboard is coming in here.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, so 3 Surgicals are great, right? You can counter something, like counter the Show and Tell and then Surgical it away to prevent it being an issue. Diabolic Edict is great against these put a fatty into play decks.
And Diabolic Edict gets around your Emrakul because it's not targeting.
Yes, exactly, right? And Mindbreak Trap is actually an interesting one. You want to make your blue count very high in this matchup, and Foodchain is actually a deck which is very good at kind of grinding into the late game and can even get to 4 mana, right? And cast a Mindbreak Trap, as well as maybe tagging one of those explosive starts of land, pedal, Show and Tell. It gives you a bit of insurance against that, while also being okay in the late game. So I can see that being brought in. Vendilion Click, always an all-star. Yeah, I mean, in the mid game, you can tag their hand, check out what's going on, or even in response to a Show and Tell, flash in your click, take their fatty, and make it basically countered.
I like the Flusterstorm coming in as well.
Flusterstorm's coming in, yep.
Really good in that counter war.
Yep, so of course, great against Show and Tell, not great against Sneak Attack, but good in counter wars in general. Pithing Needle will hit Sneak Attack, and then you also have Blue Elemental Blast and Hydroblast is also great. Hits Sneak Attack, hits opposing Pyroblasts, which I think I saw Paddy bringing in. He also has lovely black bordered Pyroblasts. Red Elemental Blast, sorry. So that's Graham's plan. I think Paddy's plans might not change much. As I said, Blood Moons he may have thought about. Red Elemental Blasts he may have thought about. And I'm not sure there's much you want here. Explosives could be good. Echoing Truth could be good, but I don't think you want to dilute your deck.
Yeah, so
this is a pretty good matchup.
I think he bought it in only 2 Blood Moons.
Yeah, this is a pretty good matchup, so I think you'd want to just be as lean and mean as possible.
Yeah, just be faster.
Yep, so Graham starts off on a basic swamp into Deathrite Shaman. As I said, robust mana base. We got a basic swamp into a Deathrite. Paddy with his nice, those look like Beta Islands.
They do, yeah, the Mark Pooley Beta Islands.
Lovely stuff. He preordains off that. And draws a City of Traders for a turn.
And we see the unglued basic lands on Graham's side.
Yep.
Which are also very beautiful, and I'm also personally excited for the new unset coming out in a few months.
That is true. There's man, when I was like a kid, EB Games, it used to sell like all these random unglued booster packs. I feel like such a dumb little boy for not just buying tons of them when they're like $4 or something. You get a basic land in all of it. Anyway,
I gave a friend $25 when he went over to Japan to grab me one while he was over there.
$25 for an unglued booster pack.
Just because I wanted it.
I have like 3 unglued booster packs in a drawer at home.
Yeah, it's unopened, so I want to do some amazing chaos draft soon.
All right, so not much going on here. Paddy just sculpting his hand. Deathrite getting in for a little bit of damage. I think Paddy's taken 2 damage from the Ponder being exiled. Yeah. Graham again showing off how embarrassing Blood Moon is with his Swamp Island Forest as his land drops for turn. So as I said, Blood Moon really not a shoo-in against it. Yep. All right. So as I said, a lovely Beta Red Blast for Paddy that is getting shuffled away along with 2 other cards, and I think he's going to just take a draw here. I think I saw a Show and Tell in his hand, so it might be he's looking for just one of the final. Yeah, he's just looking for a creature to be able to finish off to complement all the combo pieces that he has.
Yeah, which is really cool. That badge on Paddy's jumper, is that the logo for the guests?
Yeah, so that's his team of players. Again, mainly concentrating on formats such as Standard and limited and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
They produce a lot of content on the Gas MTG website.
Yeah, they've got some great content over there.
So I'd recommend having a check of that out. But yeah, that's the team that he's on there. As I said, not much legacy going on with that team, but it's always good to see Paddy himself participating in the format.
Yeah.
So he picks up a Force of Will here and casts the Brainstorm. So again, just looking for a fatty. I think that's a Gristlebrand there.
It does look like the Gristlebrand.
Yep, so it looks like the Gristlebrand will be coming into play off this show and tell unless Graham has some form of counter magic.
Putting a City of Traders. It looked like 2 City of Traders going back on top, but I'm not 100% sure there.
Yep. I mean, if he doesn't have a fetch in hand, he'll be drawing those anyway. Yeah, I think it is some City of Traders. Yeah, Graham's not really doing much. I'm expecting him to have a pretty reactive hand, and now we get to see it all with the amazing power of Gataxian Probe. We have Mindbreak Trap, Flusterstorm, Surgical, and Mist Hologriffin. So I like this. This is, even though Graham doesn't have a huge clock on the board, something like a Leovold would have been lovely on like turn 3 or even now. Okay.
So we do believe that Leovold is actually on the top card of the library. He saw it with the Ponder there.
Yeah, so that's a good one to have to kind of pick up there. And all this disruption is then going to be, pretty reasonable with that in mind.
Yeah, so I think Paddy now playing around that Mindbreak Trap being the 3rd spell.
But again, as I said, Mindbreak Trap can actually get hard cast at some stage during the game, so it's actually not bad at all.
No, I like the Mindbreak Trap.
Yeah.
You've got to respect the Mindbreak Trap, that's for sure.
Alright, so here comes Leovold, Emissary of Trest. Leovold is also pretty impressive because he can cut off Gristlebrand.
Yeah, it's sure, you can gain 7 life, but no.
Yeah.
You're not breaking the game by drawing 7 cards.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, of course, Leovold, good at cutting off cantrips, good at cutting off Gristlebrand. So it's really, Graham's, really putting the squeeze on Paddy now. This is exactly what he wants to be doing. And of course, he's holding up the island there, which is a bit interesting. I'm not sure if there's any lands left in graveyard. So sadly, the Deathrite can't produce mana there. Yeah.
But yeah, he does have the Flusterstorm.
Yeah, exactly. So if the Deathrite could produce mana, you'd want to be able to perhaps hold up the swamp so that you can drain on end step if Paddy does nothing, or hold up Flusterstorm. Graham only able to hold up Flusterstorm in this case. He'll probably actually attack with Deathrite is what's going to happen here.
That's an interesting tell that Paddy's giving Graham as well, pitching the show and tell to the Force of Will.
Yeah, well, I think he's really on the sneak attack plan, I'd imagine, and I know Paddy himself, when I've interviewed him previously, he has said that sneak attack is by far the most powerful card in the deck.
Yeah.
Because it gives you sort of like the instant win rather than the the show and tell, which is very disruptible. So it looks like Graham here is surgicaling Force of Will, this is not bad, right? Because Gristlebrand in play is so less threatening when your opponent doesn't have any counter magic to draw into, right?
And it's good to know as well.
Yeah, so I like this a lot, and it also makes Graham's counter magic himself much less disruptible, right? So the Flusterstorm, the Mindbreak Trap, he only has to worry about Spell Pierce and things like that, which Paddy does have in hand.
Yeah, which you can play around quite comfortably.
Yeah, exactly. There is the ability to play around that. So of course, ideally, a lot of the time you do want to take, a big fatty a lot of the time with the surgical extraction, but I've done this a lot as well, playing Delver. Sometimes halfway through a stack war, you'll surgical their Force of Will to make sure that they can't counter you back, and then finish off the counter war and win it. And here we see all those Force of Wills going to the exile zone. Paddy has quite a large exile zone thanks to that death right there.
Yeah, which you can also see. He did bring in the Blood Moons.
Yeah, so as I said, the Blood Moon's looking a bit embarrassing with Graham's current mana base.
Yeah.
So yeah, Graham, I think missing out on a point of damage there from the Deathrite. I'm not sure if he was hoping that Paddy might crack a fetch land or something along those lines. But definitely could have got an attack in there since Deathrite's not going to be doing much.
So he's going to show and tell, and we can safely assume that Paddy's probably going to show and tell the sneak attack in this turn.
Yep, I think he has a Griselbrand.
He does have the Griselbrand, so but he can't cast the sneak attack, which is interesting. So it's going to be hard.
I think I actually like just putting in just the
big threat.
Yeah, he doesn't have a red source of mana either. To be able to get the Griselbrand, to activate the sneak attack.
Yeah.
So I think he's just going to put in Griselbrand here and, draw some cards. But as I said, you might actually end up with a few dead cards here. Graham thinking here whether he wants to fluster this show and tell.
So he could surgical to try and bring up the storm count, but Paddy would still have enough mana to pay for the fluster storm.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't think
I think he accidentally grabbed a Mindbreak Trap instead of a Mist Hologriffin.
Both 2 UU in terms of casting costs. So that makes sense. This is pretty cool, actually. Mist Hologriffin can actually wall Griselbrand forever.
Yeah.
Because of Deathrite being able to exile it and then recast. But I don't know if that's the game we're going to be playing here. I guess Graham is looking for one of his Edict effects to be able to get this Griselbrand off the table. Because that would do a lot of work here.
Yeah, it really would.
Alright, so still no red source for Paddy, I don't think. So yeah, just a pile of Spell Piercers. And I think 2 sneak attacks. Yep, so Graham gets hit down to 11 here by the Griselbrand.
Yep, so...
And Paddy just passes. And Paddy up to 19.
Yeah.
Yep, so Deathrite getting some drain action in.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting...
Yeah, pulling Paddy down to 17.
The camera there.
Yep, so Graham draws for turn. So that is... I cannot see what that is. It looks like another Mist Hologriffin.
It does look like a Mist Hologriffin.
So Surgical Extraction. I think this one is targeting Show and Tell, is what I imagine.
Yeah.
So Paddy shows the hand of just sneak attacks and spell piercers. So yeah, no more defense really available to Paddy in terms of no forcibles, and one of the ways of cheating in a big creature in terms of show and tell is now gone.
Yeah, so it's going to be A, hard for Graham, but B, hard for Paddy. So it's going to be a really push and pull game. Paddy being able to gain a lot of life, but Graham not probably going to be losing much life because he's going to just keep chump blocking with the Mist Hologriffin.
Yeah, Emrakul in Paddy's hand as well. He'd really love a red source here to be able to cast this sneak attack and, clean up Graham's board essentially.
Yeah. But
I guess usually I'm in favor of the person with the Griselbrand on the table.
Yeah.
Just saying. If Graham can pull himself out of this one, I'm going to be impressed. But I guess Paddy is sort of drawing into air. Like, what he can do now, he can draw off Griselbrand.
And look for that red source.
Yeah, if he finds a red source plus a Lotus Petal, we're going to see Emrakul in play. So he draws a Blood Moon, Brainstorm, Jace.
A lot of blue cards. There's the Scalding Tarn. 2 Scalding Tarns.
So no red source, unfortunately. No Lotus Petal, sorry, unfortunately, because that would make it a clean win. Yep, so there we see Graham doing the Mist Hologriffin chump. Yep, so
fetching,
we see...
probably grabbing a Volcanic Island.
Yep, that City of Traders should be off the table since the land has been played. And he's got the Volcanic and is going to jam that sneak attack. So I imagine he's just kind of shortcutting here. He's going to tap the City of Traders. And then that City of Traders is gone. Let's hope we don't forget that one.
Yeah, I forget the City of Traders occasionally. It is quite easily to be forgotten.
See, this is why I like playing it in like the Dragon Stompy decks.
Yeah.
You can... Vendilion Click's a nice one. Your Blood Moon stops the City of Traders from disappearing.
Yeah, exactly, which is really cool.
Alright, so Vendilion Click for Graham So that's what that blue card was that we thought was a missed hologriffin. So this is at the end step of Paddy's turn before he goes to discard. Yep, I think what we're going to see is Graham probably taking the Emrakul.
Yeah.
This will be with sneak attack on the stack.
So
right.
This is actually sneak attack on the stack so that he can't activate.
Right,
Or,
so this is playing around Paddy potentially having a Lotus Petal.
Yeah, or playing life for... Yeah, just playing around the Lotus Petal.
Yeah. So I guess the difference is you could, other than in response to the sneak attack, you could do it in response to a Lotus Petal or something like that. But again, here we see the click doing, nonetheless, some good work.
Yeah.
So here, Graham, again, as we said, he's going to be... so I think we wanted to end of turn exile that missed hologriffin. Oh no. What's going on here? Yep, city is gone.
I think Graham might have accidentally just missed activating it.
Yeah. So I think I can understand that because he doesn't want to actually tap out for his missed hologriffin perhaps at this stage, especially since you have Vendilion click on chump block duty.
Yeah.
Graham's going to so this is a blue elemental blast on the sneak attack, which is quite nice. And he still has the Mindbreak trap in hand, so that's why he doesn't want to cast the Griffin. Still has the trap in hand if things go kind of awry. Yep.
So paying another 7 life.
So Paddy's brought in the defense grids there, interestingly, which I guess that's reasonable. I mean, Graham has likely boarded out all of his abrupt decays, so defense grid is going to stick on the table, and he is mainly interacting with him with counter magic.
And yeah, Paddy wants to be the aggressor in this match, not the control.
Oh, definitely. But that being said, we've seen Jace the Mind Sculptor and other controlling cards be quite good.
Yeah.
All right, so Graham, sadly here, so here he gets the Mind Break trap, the sneak attack. Sadly, his Hydro Blast kind of for naught. Vendilion click taking the chump there. Paddy gaining 7 more life from the Gristlebrand. And here, Paddy plays the City of Traders, and I think he'll be moving to discard to hand size.
Yeah. Being able to draw 7 cards from Gristlebrand really just helps you find whatever you need.
Well, really, Paddy hasn't really found what he's needed, and when he has found what he's needed, Graham's had the answer.
Which has been really impressive for the Foodchain deck.
Yeah, exactly. So the kind of boarding into that pile of counter magic has been very, very powerful. I mean, imagine if Leovold was not Force of Willed and was still on the table.
Oh, this would be a very different match, I believe.
Yes. Oh, wow. So Graham has drawn Diabolic Edict. Probably exactly what he wants against this Gristlebrand on the table. It's actually going to make Paddy's head kind of look a bit embarrassing now, really.
Yeah, so...
He's got no Force of Wills left in his deck. His soft counter magic isn't doing much. I think he only has a Spell Pierce.
I think he has 2 Spell
And
Pierces.
he can't cast them.
Yeah, with no blue mana.
Because he has no blue mana up.
Yeah.
I think he has a Spell Pierce and a Flusterstorm, but he can't cast these anyway. So, goodbye, Gristlebrand.
I think he might have just realised that he tapped wrong
Yeah,
for his
exactly.
sneak attack.
Yeah, I think he realised that he just tapped wrong from the sneak attack. So,
yeah.
quite punished there, because he could have very much done this off the city and 2 blue sources, and then he'd be able to cast those 2 counter spells, and Graham would not be able to pay. So,
This is now just turn the tables. Graham, that top deck with the Diabolic Edict.
So it's not a top deck.
Well, not
Sully.
it not is a top deck.
It is
brainstorming.
It is brainstorm.
But
Brainstorm finds you
top,
what you need.
Seeing in the top,
Yeah, definitely.
just really helped Graham turn the corner.
I mean, some great sideboarding there. Diabolic Edict, an excellent card to bring in. But yeah, the power of Brainstorm being seen there to really fix up a hand and make really Graham's crawled back into the game.
Yeah.
So his next contender is Jace the Mind Sculptor that he has to fight against.
Yeah.
So how he will beat this is, again, another question. So really, Paddy just has continuous draw engines on his side of his table.
Sneak attacks, it seems.
Yep, so a bunch of sneak attacks. Whether there's an Emrakul there is yet to be seen.
I think there's a Gristlebrand.
That's unpleasant. If there is a Gristlebrand, that's unpleasant. All this work for naught. Okay, looks like there's Emrakul as well. So either do the job. All right, so Graham,
doing the math to figure out what's left.
Yeah. So here I think Graham is going. What's he going to do? Drain.
Exiling the Misthollow.
Exiling the click.
Click.
Right, exiling the click
To gain some life.
Gain some life. So interesting decision. Is the Misthollow Griffin still there or? All right.
Maybe.
Graham ponders. All right, so it looks like Bayou, Brainstorm, and Misthollow Griffin. So I don't think that's particularly great. The only appealing thing here is Brainstorm, unless that blue card there I have is not a Griffin.
Bayou?
Yeah,
no.
there's a Bayou there, but there's also a Brainstorm. And
I think it is a Misthollow Griffin.
Yeah, I think it is another Misthollow Griffin. I mean, you need to keep in your Misthollow Griffins because they're great force fodder when you're relying on these counter spells. Yep. So Graham notably, of course, taking a shuffle there, a bit of a think there. Again, the appeal of Brainstorm is a lot, but sometimes, especially with Graham's hand size so small, Brainstorm's actually not going to be incredibly effective.
Yeah,
so,
it doesn't really win you the game.
Yeah,
like
it's not going to dig him deep enough. Wow, what a draw! So Graham, the perfect draw.
Whoa, just ripping like a god.
Ripping like a god here. He finds Pithing Needle for sneak attack.
Jace the Mind Sculptor? I don't know.
Well, I'm sure if we, that would be a nice luxury. But sadly, we have to Pithing Needle this sneak attack to prevent ourselves from dying. So Graham has actually cut off every single way of Paddy winning the game. Jace the Mind Sculptor is actually his only way of winning the game now.
And so,
so Elevator's going up.
It's just like, okay, let's play to my outs.
Yeah, so he needs to go for the Jace ultimate as his win condition because there's no way to put creatures into play anymore.
This is going to be very interesting to see who wins this race. Jace or
Deathrite Shaman. I think it's going to be Deathrite Shaman, especially if Graham has another random creature, which he does, because he can get the Misthollow Griffin as well into play.
Yeah.
If he exiles it. So I think we'll see Graham turn this around.
Which is really awesome.
Yeah, that Pithing Needle off the top. Holy crap. Ponder and oh wow. I'm still blown away.
That's amazing. Like, it doesn't get any better than that.
I love it when you shuffle off Ponder and you find exactly what you need.
Yeah.
I love that feeling. Against who was it? Against like a Turbo Depths deck. Once I like pondered and then I shuffled and I was like, I need to hit Stifle so I can have triple Stifle in hand to beat this, and then I did. Yeah, I drew it blind off the Ponder, and it gets you there. So that's a good feeling. All right, so looks like Paddy is, I think, discarding to hand size here and shuffling his Emrakul into his deck.
Yeah,
I think he doesn't want to deck himself either, since his library seems very small. I'm not sure if that's really a consideration, but
drawing the Delta.
All right, so the Delta's good. Graham has a Brainstorm in hand as well, which is really great.
So really good when Jace is ticking up Fate Sealing Graham.
Mm-hmm.
Graham can then...
a lot of ways to manipulate his library in the face of the Jace. So that's pretty good. Reveals...
Looks like a Surgical? I'm not 100% sure.
Looks like a black card.
Yeah.
Yep, leaves it on top. And Graham goes for the end step Brainstorm.
He wants to see what Paddy left on top.
I think it's not so much that. He wants to see the next two cards down, which are unfortunately lands.
Yeah.
So that is... I think he just wants to find a creature to be able to really force Jace to, have to worry about the board rather than be ticked up. So...
shooting again to the face
with Death
with
Right.
Death
Yeah.
Right.
So Paddy's down to 6.
And is Graham going to crack that fetch? Yes.
Yeah. So I think he put those 2 lands back on top. So he doesn't want those at all. And we'll want to be getting a... Yep, so it looks like, again, another discard of Emrakul from Paddy for hand size.
Yeah.
So shuffling his library there. This is a kind of bizarre game.
Yeah, this is extremely interesting. It has been very back and forth.
Like, as I said, usually you're in favor of the person with the Gristlebrand on the table, but
apparently...
Graham, the horde of idiots able to get there. Another idiot on the table now. And this is exactly what Graham wants. Just Idiot City.
Idiot City, keep drawing cards.
Yeah.
Keep drawing idiots.
Well, he wants to... These Baleful Strix are a really realistic clock right now. Because these can kill... These are going to kill Paddy next turn.
Yeah, he's just doubled the clock.
Yeah, I don't know. And you don't want to bounce with Jace of Baleful Strix. I think that's the saddest thing ever.
Drawing a card just like...
Yeah, so he's bouncing Death Right, and it looks like Graham's going to find a black source, shoot Paddy in the face, and then finish him off. Yeah, so Graham turning it around in the face of Gristlebrand.
Graham has a great habit of like top decking or finding exactly what he needs and then just turning a corner right at the time.
That Ponder was impressive. I think Paddy should be really reconsidering those Blood Moons and maybe even bringing in those Engineered Explosives. Engineered Explosives would have been a perfect out to that Pithing Needle, but it looks like they were languishing in his sideboard. So, yeah, I think he brings those Blood Moons to the front and is going to be looking to swap those out. Yep, taking those out, bringing in an Engineered Explosives and the Echoing Truth, some more flexible answers. Looks like Graham is just going to be sitting steady for his sideboarding. I think there's not much to change. As I said, he's basically transformational sideboarding into this hard bug control deck. No signs of Food Chains or the combo at all in his list anymore because it's just too slow.
It is a test of Paddy's professionalism that he does change sideboarding into game 3. A lot of people don't, and it does show that he puts a lot of thought into each game and changes accordingly.
Yeah, I think that's the importance in Legacy as a player, though. I know people love sideboard guides, but sideboarding on the fly is so important in a format that's so diverse. And Paddy really showing that here. As I said, doesn't play much Legacy, but he has that ability to sideboard on the fly and kind of, adapt to what he saw from his opponent's deck. And as I said, Blood Moons didn't look great, right?
Yeah.
Food Chain has tons of basics. As I said, Graham basically going Swamp, Island, Forest as his first 3 land drops.
It's
so,
just like, I have all the colours I need now.
Yep, exactly. So I don't think Paddy will be liking those Blood Moons, but the EE definitely could be very good.
Yeah, it could be. So we're saying Preordain.
Yep, so Paddy starts off with a Preordain. I think Graham has a Force of Will in his hand. I think Paddy does as well.
It's a Sneak Attack, Preordain in Paddy's hand, a City of Traders.
Looks like Graham has double Mindbreak Trap.
Misty.
I think there's at least
and
one.
a Leovold.
A Leovold. So there's
And a Force of Will.
Yeah, so there's a fair amount of stuff. Paddy's getting a lot of sculpting from these 2 Preordains. Looks like he has a red Elemental Blast, so that's going to answer that Force of Will pretty nicely. Whether he ends up triggering the Mindbreak Trap, activating the trap card.
Yeah, you can't activate the trap card.
Whether that ends up happening is to be known, though. I think he's just looking for a giant creature, though, and then he should be able to jam with a red Elemental Blast up, I think, at some stage at least. Alright, so he bottoms those. Yeah, he didn't draw off the Preordain, so I think he needs to draw off it. Yep, needs to draw. Yep, both players saying, yep, did you, yeah.
Please,
the always confusing, crap, I forgot.
Please draw off this card.
Yes, I don't think Preordain would be anywhere near worth a slot in his deck if it
would just scry 2
Scry
for 1
2.
mana.
Scry 2 for 1 mana. I have a feeling that is a card somewhere.
It sounds like a standard legal card.
Yeah, sounds like a standard legal card.
Or maybe Frontier, who knows?
Frontier legal, sure. Let's go with that. Alright, Graham making land drops. I think I can see a Deathrite there, so it looks like Deathrite might be getting the party started for the Foodchain deck. Whether he decides to fetch a basic land here or not is, a consideration. Graham, as I said, might go straight for the C, which I like.
I don't think Graham would search the basic lands.
No, I don't think so either.
You can assume that Paddy's just taken out the Blood Moons.
As I said, a little bit of a leveling going on there, perhaps, but he did see, of course, Paddy sideboard out 2 cards, bring 2 in, and I think Blood Moons probably would have been the most obvious ones to think about there.
It's the same reason I play back to basics in Vintage, and I'm happy to sideboard them out in Game 3, because once you see them, once you play around them.
Here comes the Show and Tell, right? Show and Tell with Red Elemental Blast up. So as I was saying, this is what was... this is the plan, right? This is the plan. Show and Tell with Red Elemental Blast. And Graham has the Force. But I don't think it's enough. Ooh, the full value.
Amazing.
The full value Force, but Paddy has a lovely Beta Red Blast to fight back against that.
Showing us the stack. Thank you so much for that, guys.
So yeah, I don't think this triggers the trap because only he played 2 cards.
Yes.
Show and Tell and Red Elemental Blast. 1 card short. Graham is probably very sad because he felt it was so close. All right, but so Leovold versus Griselbrand.
This is not bad.
Yeah, Leovold is quite strong against Griselbrand, as we mentioned last time. But Graham might not be able to race this 7/7 lifelinker, though.
Yeah, the 7/7 lifelink is really hard.
Unlike last time where he had a bunch of flyers to keep chump blocking and eventually find his Diabolic Edict, now he just has all ground idiots in Deathrite Shaman and Leovold, and it looks like he didn't find any flyer there. So next turn he can cast the Mist Hollow Griffin though, so that is something.
So
another Show and Tell.
Yeah, Paddy top decking another Show and Tell.
It looks like he has Emrakul in his hand as well.
He does have Emrakul and 2 sneak attacks.
Man, just all brute force with this one. All just Show and Tell, sneak attacks, and fatties. And here comes, he puts in the sneak attack, puts in the Emrakul, and the old 22.
And throws in the shake. It's unfortunate for Graham, one of our TCM guys, but congratulations to Paddy going on.
Really well fought in that game too, though. He really hung on with his fingernails.
Yeah, he really
against the Griselbrand on the other side of the table. As I said, it looked like it was just going to kind of take the game away, but yeah, Graham hung in there. Dig deep with his cantrips. As I said, cantripped really well. In that second game, using his Brainstorm to find the Edict, knowing with his Ponder, I can't live with this, I have to shuffle, play to my outs, found the needle, and got there. So a real credit to him, and sadly he did not get to slay the third Sneak and Show deck throughout his tournament. But nonetheless, there's his sideboarding plans, but I guess that wraps us up for the quarterfinals.
Yeah, so thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for the semis coming up.
Yep.